The gavel struck, and with those words, "Everything goes to her," my world collapsed. I stood frozen, watching the woman I once loved press her lips against her lawyer, their smirk slicing through whatever pride I had left. My chest burned, not just with loss, but with the betrayal that had been unfolding behind my back all along. I thought love was meant to heal, to protect. Instead, it became the weapon that stripped me bare. As the courtroom blurred around me, one haunting question clawed at my soul. How did I ever end up here, broken, watching her celebrate my ruin? Before the courtroom, before the betrayal, my life felt almost ordinary, stable, predictable, even comfortable. I had a house that echoed with laughter, plans that stretched into the future, and a love I believed was unshakable. At least, that's what I told myself during quiet nights, when doubts tried to creep in. I was the kind of person who poured everything into love. I believed loyalty could hold people together, that commitment meant something sacred. Maybe that's why I ignored the small cracks forming in our marriage, the way she turned her phone slightly when it lit up, the late nights she justified as work, the subtle shift in how her smile never quite reached her eyes anymore. Deep down, I felt at the distance. But I buried those thoughts under excuses, telling myself every relationship had rough patches. I wanted to believe we were stronger than temptation, stronger than the shadows of mistrust. Looking back, I realized I was clinging to a dream, while she was already writing an ending I couldn't see. Maybe I was blinded by hope, or maybe I was too afraid to admit the truth. Love doesn't always die loudly, sometimes fades in whispers, until betrayal crashes in like thunder. And yet, if I had seen the storm coming, would I have walked away? Or would I still have fought for her, even as she slipped further from my grasp? The first time I truly felt something was wrong, it wasn't even about the phone calls or the late nights. It was the silence. She stopped laughing at my stupid jokes. She stopped asking how my day was. And when I reached out to hold her hand, she pulled away so subtly, it almost felt accidental. Almost. I told myself not to overthink it. I drowned myself in work, in the little rituals of daily life: coffee in the morning, emails, long commutes, convincing myself everything was fine. But every quiet dinner, every distracted glance, every sudden excuse to leave the room tore at me in ways I couldn't explain. I was losing her, and I didn't know how to stop it. Then came the lawyer. At first, just a name she mentioned casually. He's been so helpful with paperwork. Paperwork. That word rings in my ears even now, because it was the cover for everything else. He started appearing everywhere. Late-night calls, client dinners, weekend meetings. And each time, she came home with that same detached look, like her body was present, but her heart was elsewhere. I wanted to confront her. I rehearsed the words in my head 100 times. Who is he to you? Tell me the truth. But when she walked through the door, I froze. Instead, I smiled weakly, asked if she wanted tea, and buried my suspicions. My love for her wasn't just blinding, it was paralyzing. Still, the signs grew louder. Perfume that wasn't hers lingering on her clothes. A lipstick stain on a coffee mug that didn't belong to either of us. And worst of all, the look in her eyes when she mentioned him. A softness I hadn't seen in years. I remember lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, battling the storm in my chest. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I couldn't, because deep down, I was terrified the truth would shatter me. And yet, wasn't I already breaking? When the divorce papers finally landed in my hands, my worst fears crystallized into reality. I had lost her not to time, not to distance, but to betrayal wrapped neatly in legal documents. And when I read the clause about assets, about her taking everything, the walls around me closed in. But nothing could have prepared me for the final blow: their sight of her leaning into him. That smug lawyer, her lips brushing his, as if I had never existed. That kiss was more than passion. It was victory. It was cruelty. It was the end of everything I thought we were. And in that moment, as I stood in the courtroom, stripped of love, pride, and home, something inside me shifted. It wasn't just pain anymore, it was fire. Fire born of betrayal. Fire that whispered, "This is not where your story ends." The courtroom was colder than I expected, not in temperature, but in spirit. The judge's words echoed like gunshots in my chest. All assets are awarded to the wife. I couldn't breathe. It felt like the air had been stolen, the ground pulled from beneath me. I had worked years, every drop of sweat, every sacrifice, believing I was building a life for us, for her. And now, with a few strokes of a pen, it was gone. She didn't just take the house or the savings. She took the meaning behind every effort I had ever made. I looked at her, searching for any flicker of guilt, of humanity. But all I saw was that smirk, the same one she once gave me in the early days of our love, only now it was twisted into something venomous. And then it happened. She leaned toward him, her lawyer, and kissed him. Not a small, fleeting brush of lips. No, this was deliberate, possessive, triumphant, as if to announce to the world, I've won. The courtroom blurred, my vision tunneled. 1,000 memories crashed over me: our first date, our promises under the stars, the nights we whispered about forever. And now forever ended, with a kiss that was never mine. Inside, I shattered. Humiliation coursed through me like fire. Rage boiled so hot, I could taste it in my throat. And yet, beneath the fury, a quiet voice whispered, "You survived this long. You will survive this too." I clenched my fists, forcing myself not to collapse, not to scream. They wanted me broken, crushed. But as I stood there, stripped of everything, I realized something chilling. When a person has nothing left to lose, they are capable of anything. And in that silence, one thought echoed louder than the judge's verdict, louder than their laughter. This isn't over. When I walked out of that courtroom, I carried nothing but the weight of betrayal on my shoulders. No house, no savings, no marriage. Just me, stripped bare, hollow, and yet strangely free. For days, I replayed the scene in my head, her smirk, his arm around her. The kiss that announced my defeat. It haunted me, gnawed at me in the quiet hours of the night. At first, it felt like an indenja, cruel finale to the life I had built. But as the silence settled, I began to realize it was also the beginning of something I never expected. I had spent years defining myself by what I gave to her, by what I sacrificed, by how much I could endure for love. But standing in the ashes of everything I lost, I saw the truth. Love without respect is just a slow death, and I had been dying long before the verdict. I won't lie, there are scars. Trust feels like a fragile thing now. The idea of love feels dangerous, like walking barefoot over shattered glass. But there's strength in scars too. They remind me of what I survived, of the fire I walked through and came out of alive. One day, maybe I'll learn to love again. Not with blind devotion, not with the naivety that cost me everything, but with the wisdom carved out of pain. Until then, I carry this lesson. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself. And as I move forward, I leave one question behind, lingering for anyone who's ever loved too deeply, too blindly. When the person you trusted most betrays you, do you let it destroy you? Or do you let it remake you into someone stronger?